Support for Up First Winter Games comes from NPR sponsor Allianz Travel Insurance. Get ready to give ordinary the cold shoulder with protection for adventures that give you the best kind of chills. Learn more at allianztravelinsurance.com.
If you've ever seen the movie Cool Runnings, you know one of the major risks of sliding down the ice in a bobsled is crashing. These athletes are racing over 80, sometimes 90 miles an hour, and a crash is brutal on the body and brain. But there's a lesser-known risk that's catching the attention of scientists, and that is the phenomenon known as sledhead. Here's my conversation with Emily Kwong, co-host of NPR's science podcast, Shortwave. All right, so Emily, besides bobsled, tell us about some of the other sliding sports.
Okay, so you got luge. That's where athletes are lying on their backs and initiating those turns with their very strong calves. And then there's skeleton, which I think has the coolest helmets in the Olympics because those athletes are racing head first.
Oh, they are very nice.
Yeah.
Wow, very arty. Very colorful as well. Yeah. So, and you mentioned aerodynamic, right?
The helmets are definitely aimed to get that athlete going as fast as possible. Cool as this looks, this sport, all these sports, they come with broken bones, they come with concussions, and one of the lesser known ailments, sledhead.
Sledhead. I know what a deadhead is, someone that travels around with the Grateful Dead, but what's sledhead?
Wow, my dad would really appreciate that joke. The umbrella term of sledhead describes a wide range of symptoms. Every case is different, but on the list is dizziness, exhaustion, nausea, discomfort with bright lights or loud noises. Some people talk about cognitive problems, forgetfulness, emotional dysregulation issues. But what's so interesting to me about sledhead is the culprit is not a crash. It's not anything dramatic. It's just the routine vibrational exposure and high G-forces that these athletes are experiencing,
So if someone's seen Top Gun, they might remember what G-forces are, but remind anyone that hasn't.
Yeah, so G-force is just the force felt by the body due to acceleration.
So for you and me, just chilling in these office chairs, we feel...
we feel G-forces?
We have G's right now.
Oh,
we're pulling mad G's. 1 G.
1 G?
That's the force of gravity.
Okay.
But think about being in a car going around a tight turn. The forces are more intense than that of Earth's gravity. You may even get up to 2 Gs. And for these bobsledders, they're experiencing up to 5 Gs. It's like being on a massive roller coaster.
That's like just squishing your face, right? I mean, that's what that is, right?
It's intense. In fact, I want to show you a clip from the IBSF World Cup just a few weeks ago. This is the German team. So they're super fast and it's easy to just watch the speed, the athleticism, but think about the acceleration they're experiencing on those turns.
Oof.
Their brains are like going in multiple directions as they're being whipped around the track. And I mean, this is not a smooth ride. I know that the ice looks kind of smooth to us at home, but it's bumpy. And the concern is even a slight impact on the wall could cause the brain to move within the skull.
Move within the skull.
And no helmet is going to protect you from that. No helmet's going to protect you from that. So the concern for Peter McCarthy, he is a neurophysiologist at the University of South Wales, is what happens when the soft tissue of the brain moves in one direction and the skull moves in the other direction. There's also, of course, the issue of nerve tissue stretching. And it's not just your brain, it's your brain stem, which connects your brain to your spinal cord. That's kind of important for your whole nervous system. So all these impacts, they add up.
They add up. Okay, so how do they add up?
Well, think about the fact that these athletes, when they are training, they are doing these runs multiple times a day. They're competitive. They want to get as good as possible. They want to practice. And if they have a high G-force run, which, by the way, the sport wouldn't be monitoring for, no one's tracking G-forces on the track. So they're getting exposure to these forces. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they have some sled head, but they're like, I'm going to keep going. If their coaches don't pull them and they're not recovering from those races, the concern for scientists is that the accumulated trauma can create long-term damage. And this is creating a real conversation in the sliding sports because over the last 15 years, there have been a number of high-profile suicides and drug overdoses from retired athletes, some of whom have had brain health issues. So the question is, how can we make the sport maybe safer when the federations that oversee it, They're looking out for concussions for sure, but are they monitoring sled head in the same way?
But so why wouldn't it be the same thing, sled head and concussions?
Yes. Okay, this was the number one mystery for me working on this story. I found a neuropsychologist named Aaliyah Snyder who used to be a skeleton athlete. And she's made it her mission to work with athletes on issues like this. She treats athletes for sled head. And what she says it is subconcussive impacts.
Subconcussive.
I know, we're getting real doctor here. Those are hits that don't lead to brain damage outright, but maybe create gradual wear and tear on the brain and the nervous system. And the concern for her is that over time, it prevents your body from tolerating the stress of the sled and can create exponential damage down the line.
So that sounds like it could be a career ender for people.
It was for Aaliyah. Okay. She had to medically retire after just 2 years of competing, and she loved it. She used to be a sailor. She loved the speed of skeleton. It felt very right to her, but her brain couldn't tolerate it. She said, I loved the sport, but the sport did not love me. Wow. And it inspired her to become a doctor. So that's pretty cool. Now she basically treats athletes for their sled head. She rehabilitates them, and she says it's totally possible if sled head is caught and taken seriously early.
So so why wouldn't that be taken seriously?
Well, I think what might need to happen is culture change within the sport. The governing bodies for the sport are aware of sled head. There's been press coverage of it. And in fact, the British Bobsleigh and Skeleton Association, last I heard, has a study that they're doing right now involving concussion and concussive-like symptoms. That's a step in the right direction, but maybe the sport needs to change. You know, Peter McCarthy says we could attach sensors on the helmets. That would allow us to know the G-force exposure of these athletes. We've seen again and again in these games, that athletes will happily compete injured if glory or money or fame or their lifelong dream is on the line. So unless there's some kind of regulatory change or culture change within the sliding sport, sled head is just going to continue.
Oh, well, the NFL actually has made some strides a little bit on concussions. So
with CTE.
With CTE, right.
Yes, that's the degenerative brain disease. It's different than what we're talking about, but it's the same kind of internal recognition within the sport that is what drew my attention to this story, and I think these scientists to this very under-researched topic, sled head.
NPR's Emily Kwong. She co-hosts NPR's science podcast, Shortwave. Emily, thanks.
Thank you so much,
The Olympics are about more than medals. They're about the stories, the sacrifices, and those rare moments that bring everyone together. NPR's covering the wins, the heartbreaks, and everything in between, from first-time athletes to history makers. If you're enjoying the ride, support the coverage by hitting the blue donate button. Thanks for being part of the team.